move through the week. But here we go.
What did you think of the game yesterday?
I'm a fan of big defensive efforts.
All right.
So I enjoyed watching, and I was pulling for the Seahawks for a number of reasons. But I enjoyed watching Drake May get sacked 6 times. I love any defensive showdown, and that's part of being an old Bears fan where we we didn't have anything other than defense for years and years, so you had to find joy where you could.
Packers have a hard time finding defense, so I can appreciate that.
Yeah, it was overall the game was not as exciting. It didn't have the big flashy throws or great catches or things like that, but it had enough offense to keep me going. And I'm always hate watching Chris Collinsworth to hear once he latched on, it's going to be a defensive showdown. I wanted to start an over-under and get a new line of betting going, how many times he would say it, and he did not disappoint with that. So the game itself was a game. It was fun. I thought the overall experience was great. There were some commercials that really got to me because I had not watched any of them previously. I was watching.
No, that just ruins the surprise.
Yeah, I was watching for the first time, the halftime show, which we'll talk about later. I enjoyed the whole thing, and
I actually thought it was a great Super Bowl. And in case you're not a fan of the sports ball, the Seattle Seahawks did beat the Patriots yesterday, 29-13. Yes. It's their second championship in franchise history. They did so in convincing fashion. We happen to have the final call, so Parker, let's roll that.
And that will do it. Seattle reigns above them all in the NFL. The Seahawks, Super Bowl champions for the second time.
Only 2 wins. And by the way, John Schneider, their GM in Seattle, happens to be a resident of De Pere, was with the Packers for a very long time. So it's fun to have those ties.
And I love this. I love the story of their coach who 12 years ago got hired as an intern. And now has won a Super Bowl. I'm like, look at that, America. You can really achieve your dreams if you work hard and are good at your job.
And I think it's interesting because Sam Darnold is kind of one of those guys in that same vein, right?
Yes.
That's what I was going to say. He was the first quarterback to win a Super Bowl after playing for at least 5 different teams. And, of course, as if you're a Packers fan, Bears fan, you know that he was with the Vikings last year. But they passed over him, which is why their GM is no longer there. But we digress. And, didn't bring him back this season. They chose to roll with J.J. McCarthy. And Vikings fans, I don't know if this makes you feel better, but that could have been you.
Yeah, could have been the Jets. Could have been all these teams that didn't think he was doing. And it was funny because I knew Sam Darnold's story to a point, but then last night they kept rehashing the stats. It's like he was let go after 14-win seasons, and I'm wait, no, 14-win seasons. Most guys would be put on a pedestal and called a franchise quarterback.
Yeah,
and I have a feeling he's that now.
I think so.
Because
but
once you win the Super Bowl, Green Bay fans, not to rub it in, and this does nothing for the Bears. I will admit to that up front. He has the same number of Super Bowls as Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, he does.
Brett Favre. So
yes. By the way, Aaron Rodgers, a little football fan, fun for everybody. He's contemplating his 22nd season to play with Mike McCarthy in Pittsburgh.
And they're saying it's looking statistically more and more likely that is going to happen. Parker, what do you think of that, Parker?
I'm just wondering what the line is on Kelce for this. How much money can I make off of him playing for another year? That's what I want to know, Brian, because I'm a degenerate.
I love a good degenerate. I want a railbird at the racetrack. I want a guy, going through the tickets that have been tossed away. I love a good degenerate gambler.
Did you have a favorite Super Bowl commercial yesterday?
Now, see, I had about halfway through the game, I was like, I should have been keeping a list. There was I didn't like the Mike Tyson Apple one because I was like, you guys are rich and you don't realize, yes, it's important to eat real foods, but processed foods are really cheap, which is why America has an obesity problem. There was one, the Lay's potato chip where the dad is retiring and gives the farm to his daughter. Made me feel good. And there was one that kind of the one that kind of got me choked up a little was the NFL one thanking the coaches, where the
Yeah.
kid's in his room and he's giving the pep talk to all his action figures, and it cuts to
Yes.
the huddle, and that one got me. I enjoyed that one because I was, at that
was
point
a
I
good
was
one.
just sappy. And
That was a good one.
What about you?
I did appreciate the Ben Affleck Goodwill Hunting for Duncan. Of course, that was an all-star cast. I didn't think the commercial was that great, but to see Jason Alexander, Matt LeBlanc, Julia White, Jasmine Guy, Alfonso Ribeiro, Jennifer Aniston. I mean, to bring them all out into one commercial for like 30 seconds, I
But
can appreciate
why
that.
so much filtering on their faces? Let them
don't
come
know.
out as they are. Like Ted
Yeah.
Danson. Ted Danson's still a really good-looking guy. Just
Yes.
bring him out. Maybe
Yeah.
put the Sam wig on him, the Sam Malone
Yes.
wig. And Jennifer Aniston does not need any
She doesn't need
filtering.
any touch-up. No, she's good.
You can try Jennifer Aniston out anytime, and she still is a beautiful, beautiful woman. So that pulled me out of it because the rest of it I liked. And I loved it. I loved the concept, and I loved the little dig at Matt Damon at the beginning.
Right.
That Matt Damon is a good sport because he lets
He is.
everybody take
Everybody
shots
picks
at
on
him.
him. Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
and he just rolls with it. But that everything about that commercial for me should have worked.
Yeah.
But the overall the de-aging stuff they
Yep.
did on their faces pulled me out of it.
That's what happens when you get too much AI involved. Maybe I need AI. Maybe that
Did
will
you
help
get
me.
did you get sucked in like I did with the Budweiser and the Eagle? And then I
Yes.
loved at the end when the guy goes, "Are you crying?" Just a little.
Those Budweiser commercials are always great.
Always
They're
good.
always good. Do we want to go to Cindy from Appleton? She's a
Yes.
favorite Super Bowl commercial
Yes,
chiming in
please.
this
Hi,
morning.
Cindy.
Hello. Well, you just stole my thunder because I didn't see the first half. I was traveling, but the Budweiser commercial with the eagle I thought was just brilliant.
It was great, wasn't it? Because I didn't realize I'm dumb. I didn't know what an eaglet looked like.
Eaglet, yes.
And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, this is going to be an eagle.
Yeah. And Budweiser always brings it, right?
Thank
Between
you,
the dogs
Cindy.
and the horses and the animals. Thank you for calling this morning, Cindy. If you want to chime in, 1-855-752-4842, 1-855-75-CIVIC. Now, I quickly, because I know we have a couple other things we want to talk about here before our first break of the morning. I also thought that Brandi Carlile was amazing
She did
at
great.
doing America the Beautiful. And a little fun fact for everybody. We talked about this before the show. The cellist and the violinist that accompanied her, they're actually from Milwaukee. They're called Sista Strings. And
Sista
so
Strings.
check them out. And I also thought Charlie Puth was amazing. Now, if you follow him on social, you know that leading into the Super Bowl, dude was so nervous.
Yeah.
He was so nervous if you follow him on
great.
social media, but I thought he brought it, and I thought the strings behind him and the orchestra behind him were amazing. So
And-
I loved the whole thing.
I loved it, and let's not forget Green Day. I thought Green Day did
Oh,
great.
yes.
Got bleeped once for dropping the F-bomb, and I was glad. I'm glad Green Day dropped the F-bomb. If they hadn't,
Yeah.
I would have been disappointed. They sounded great. The whole as the Hall of Famers were there, or the MVPs rather, from Super Bowls were there, and they ended with they just did that one line. Hope you had the time of your life. It was, and then they rocked. The other commercial that made me laugh, and it was for some sort of body spray, and it was the cake or reality. And I laughed out loud when the woman ran off stage going, "I'm not cake." And they're like, I think she's the cake. I'm not cake. I believe you're cake. And I'm like, this is the Republican movement in a nutshell.
Right.
The facts are this is a
Right,
human
yes.
being. I
Agreed.
believe you're cake. And then they
Agreed.
pull out the knife. I'm not cake.
Roger from Stevens Point chiming in this morning saying he loved the Rocket Redfin commercial with Lady Gaga singing the Mr. Rogers theme.
Oh,
Lady
yeah.
Gaga made several appearances in the Super Bowl. I was a little surprised to see her as often as I did, but no, I love Lady Gaga. I'm always going to be a fan of Gaga. She's fantastic. I thought the entire event from start to finish was fantastic this year. For so much rhetoric going into this about diversity and culture, I thought the NFL actually leaned into it maybe a little bit more than they had in the past, and I think the commercials did as well. And obviously the performances were fantastic. So I was down with this one.
Not
I
a bad way to
appreciated it.
spend a Sunday. unless
No.
you are, and that was a bad segue, but no news in the Savannah Guthrie
Yeah.
case with her mom, and it's starting to look. This is just opinion. It's starting to look bad when you're a week
Yeah.
into this case. Supposedly, the alleged kidnappers are going to contact them today. There's another deadline, but
Yeah.
they have not been able to. They're saying they're going to pay. They would pay
Yeah.
whatever it takes. They want to get their mom back. But there's been no proof of life. There has
Nope.
been no communication from the kidnappers. And from what we heard last week, Annie Guthrie is not in good health. I was checking some
Yeah.
of the notes.
Yeah.
She's not in good health, and it's Nancy Guthrie.
Yes. Annie is Savannah's sister. Yeah.
The sister. So Nancy is the mom. But she's in bad health and she needed medication every day, and now it's been a week without that medication.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, Jamie. I start running different scenarios only because I've seen so many. And this is when your mind is influenced by TV and movies.
Right.
You go, boy, if there's been
Right.
no communication, I wonder if it's
Well,
somebody else.
And there's been some weird things happening, right?
Yeah.
Authorities were at Annie Guthrie's, as we just mentioned, Savannah's sister, several miles away. They were collecting evidence from her house the other day. They're out looking. There was footage, verified footage of investigators in the septic area of Nancy Guthrie's house investigating. Neighbors tipped authorities off to how clean her roof was, so they were removing things from the roof earlier this week as well. So at some point, you got to wonder, is this more about Savannah Guthrie and her notable being a public figure? Like, that's where my mind keeps going. Is this to kind of get to her? I don't know. This is a very, very deeply disturbing case. And I don't want to make too many jokes, but the fact that Kash Patel is on this doesn't really give me much confidence that we're going to have an end to
I wouldn't
finding
want
Nancy
Kash
Guthrie.
Patel helping me find my keys.
No, this is very true. But hopefully for the family, they get an end sooner
Let's
than
find
later.
out.
Yeah. 6:19 right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Hey, the president shared a video this weekend. You might have heard about it. We want to know how you feel about it. We'll get to that next on the Civic Media Network.
Farmers Market tomatoes.
At Chance Design Build, we provide remodeling done well with love. Our commitments extend beyond our workplace and your home to support our community. We judge people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin, and we believe all humans deserve quality, publicly funded education, childcare, and health care. But what do you believe in? At Chance Design Build, we believe every person must have the opportunity to thrive. If you're thinking about remodeling your home, go to chancedesignbuild.com to learn more about our commitments to you, your home, and our community.
Did Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers allow unauthorized immigrants to get taxpayer-funded health care? No.
But the veto that Governor Evers did, allowing illegal aliens to continue to get taxpayer-funded health care, I mean, that's just a bad veto.
Contrary to Republican U.S. Representative Tom Tiffany's December 10th claim that Evers' veto allowed taxpayer-funded coverage, no such coverage exists. Unauthorized immigrants are not eligible for federally or state-funded health care coverage in Wisconsin. 14 states use state funds to cover unauthorized immigrants, but Wisconsin does not. Evers vetoed a Republican-backed bill December 5th that would have barred public funds for health care coverage for unauthorized immigrants, calling it polarizing political rhetoric. Fact briefs are bite-sized fact checks of trending claims produced by Wisconsin Watch and GigaFact. Read more at wisconsinwatch.org.
Where working people come to talk. It's The Rick Smith Show, weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network. Join me for an honest approach to the issues American working families care about. No talking points, no focus groups. Get ready for a heavy dose of democracy, fairness, grit, and no apologies. It's current affairs from a working class labor perspective. Facts are center, science is real, and everyone gets a seat at the table. The Rick Smith Show, weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Kids across America are going to school hungry every day. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals.
15 seconds until we're back.
.22 right now. You're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network, Civic Media Mornings. If you're in Eau Claire, listening on 93.5 The Tap, or in La Crosse on WLCX, we are glad that you're here. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Good morning. Welcome to another week of fact-checking and just shaking our heads. I think most people, and if you weren't shaking your head this weekend, I really don't want to know you about, and I'm talking only about this one thing. The president released a video, which he loves to go on his Truth Social, and he released a video that had former President Barack and First Lady Michelle Obama's faces superimposed over. It was either monkeys or gorillas. It doesn't matter. The message was clear. Yeah. He put that on his social media late Thursday night. And then Friday, by the time the show was over, that's when we started seeing all the news about it and the backlash. And it was just, it's been derided by Republicans, Democrats, centrists. It doesn't matter. If you have any empathy, if you are not a racist, you are calling out. You know it's bad for the president when the Republican senator from Mississippi, so, Mississippi, where they killed civil rights workers, call it totally unacceptable. This was, I thought, beyond the pale. But, Jamie, I'm sure the president felt bad and realized the error of his ways and apologized. And then I'm sure, I missed it because I was focused on other things. But Caroline Levitt she probably said, we're sorry and this was a mistake.
Yeah, well, no, none of those things happened. So if you were wrapped up in the Olympics or the Super Bowl, you didn't miss any of that. It didn't just get, pushed down on your social media feeds. The president actually spoke to reporters aboard Air Force One on Friday night after the video had already been taken down. Now,
he took it down.
He did Friday afternoon, late Friday afternoon. Now, Trump says that he did not watch the entire video before it was posted and claimed that he only saw the opening portion, which was really just focusing on false claims about the 2020 election. Let's listen to him. Cut 2, please.
Media post that you took down earlier today, the White House says that a staffer sent it. Who sent it, and are you going to fire them?
I looked at it. No, I looked at it. I saw it, and I just looked at the first part. It was about voter fraud in someplace, Georgia. There was a lot of voter fraud, 2020 voter fraud, and I didn't see the whole thing. I guess during the end of it, there was some kind of a people don't like. I wouldn't like it either, but I didn't see it. I looked at the first part, and it was really about voter fraud in and the machines, how crooked it is, how disgusting it is. Then I gave it to the people. Generally, they look at the whole thing, but I guess somebody didn't, and they posted, and we took it down, and we did it. But that was a voter fraud that nobody talks about. They don't like to talk about that post. We took it down as soon as we found out about it.
Mr. President, a number of Republicans are calling on you to apologize for that post. Is that something you're going to do?
No, I didn't make a mistake. I mean, I look at a lot of thousands of things, and I looked at the beginning of it. It was fine.
It was fine.
I didn't make a mistake. I look at thousands of things. Most of them are my own posts on Truth Social. But I look at thousands of things. Pictures of ladies, maybe ladies who aren't of age to be ladies, allegedly.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Levitt initially brushed off any sort of criticism, calling it all fake outrage. This was actually her written statement, part of her written statement. Ready for this? Oh, you'll love this. This is from an internet meme video depicting President Trump as the king of the jungle and Democrats as characters from The Lion King. Please stop the fake outrage and report on something today that actually matters to the American public.
There weren't gorillas in Lion King, first of all.
No, there weren't.
Secondly, that's not the video that the president just described. Somebody's lying.
Somebody's lying. And I honestly,
Or
here's what I'm going to
everybody's
say about this.
lying.
They're all lying. Let's be real. Here's what I'm going to say about this. I don't think this was a mistake. This was a deliberate distraction. This was a way to pull attention from so many issues right now where the president is losing public support. Things like inflation, the rising cost of living, the growing backlash over ICE raids, and all of these questions about how the administration has handled the Epstein files. This is a pattern that this administration has dove back into over and over. You create one controversy, you pile on top of another, and then you do it again and again and again. This was done by design. I
And
believe.
it should be concerning to everybody that, yeah, and I agree that it's just another distraction. But the fact that they don't mind, this administration does not mind being labeled racist, because that's been a knock on Donald Trump since way before he was in politics. You go all the way back to him being sued for not renting to African Americans in his properties. So he doesn't care if you think he's a racist, because there's a really good chance by his past actions that he is. So, and we know that Barack Obama lives in his head rent-free every day. So anything he can do to slam the Obamas, he's going to do it. And it's just one more thing that most people who have any sense would have apologized, even if they didn't mean it, because we know he wouldn't have meant it had he apologized. But most people care about that public image. They want to kind of tamp down on any sort of controversy. Not him. He doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
And it's like, call me a racist. Yeah, whatever.
What I think makes this even worse, not that it was not bad enough, but the timing of this, it's a little infuriating because it's also Black History Month. So this is a time we're supposed to honor, remember, and celebrate the history and the achievements of Black Americans, including all the sacrifices that this community has made. And I mean, we're also supposed to be honoring the first Black president of the United States, and this is what you choose to do? Like, I will forever never understand the decisions that come from this administration, even if it is supposed to be just a distraction.
I would be a loyal fan of any reporter who just finally said, enough with 2020. There was no voter fraud. It's been proven. Stop. You're ridiculous.
I'd read anything you wrote.
Yes.
6:29 right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Hey! We might have a big spy scandal going on in the U.S. We'll talk about that on the Civic Media Network.
For people who always put curds before carbs.
This report brought to you by Downtrins Distilling, making fun-flavored spirits with local produce. Attend a tasting. Book today at downtrins.com.
If you're looking for a brighter spot in the dairy complex, take a look at non-fat dry milk. I'm Pam Yonke, starting you off before the opening bell on a Monday morning. Quick look at what's influencing the markets on the day. We'll talk about that with Katie Burgess, dairy analyst from Everag, next.
Did you know you can leverage crop insurance to benefit your bottom line? Ag Country Farm Credit Services can help. Choosing the right coverage for your goals can help maximize margins, strengthen your marketing strategy, and build a more resilient operation overall. As you plan for the season ahead, focus on more than just managing risk. Call 800-450-9858 to speak with one of our dedicated crop insurance officers. This institution is an equal opportunity provider and employer.
Katie Burgess, dairy analyst with Everag, says right now non-fat dry milk prices are at record levels we haven't seen for a little while. She says that has a trickle-down effect on our Wisconsin dairy prices.
For months and months, it really wasn't worth talking about. But all of a sudden here, since the first of the year, that price has gone from $115 to $150, more than $150 per pound, which is the highest level we've seen in the non-fat dry milk space dating back to 2022. And with that, part of the reason that that price has gone up so fast is that we're sending more milk into other spots. So, over the past year, we talked a lot about how the U.S. has added a lot of new cheese plants, or cheese plants have expanded. So it means we're making more cheese in the U.S., but a little less milk powder. Now the market got tight.
Katie Burgess, one of the dairy analysts with Everag, she said that a lot of this milk powder price is being driven by consumers' demand for protein. Take a look at your local grocery store. You'll probably see it there. What do we see in the markets on a Monday morning? The numbers are next.
Innovation, that's BioVet.
We know you work hard every day to keep your livestock healthy and run an efficient operation because there's no such thing as a snow day. Take time this winter and consider BioVet, your trusted partner in helping you raise stronger, healthier animals and to protect your bottom line. The knowledge and support from our team can help you make the difference in keeping your livestock healthy. Call 1-800-BioVet1 or visit bio-vet.com.
Innovation, that's BioVet.
Fairly quiet trading right now in Chicago. The March corn's unchanged. December new crop down a penny at $4.57. March soybeans are down 2 at $11.12. November new crop down 2 at $10.91. March wheat's down a penny at $5.28. July new crop down 2 at $5.47. Friday in Chicago, the barrel cheese was unchanged at $1.44. 40-pound block cheese gained a half to $1.47 while double A butter stood still at $1.71 a pound. The March Class 3 milk that goes into cheese is up 2 at $17.12. April down 11, $17.15 a hundredweight. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Pam Yankee.
This report brought to you by Sugar River Pizza. Skip cooking. Get the hot, handcrafted pizza consistently rated Best of Madison, delivered straight to your door. SugarRiverPizza.com.
It is going to be mostly cloudy with a few sprinkles or a flurry possible this afternoon. Our high in the upper 30s today. Tonight, mostly cloudy. We'll drop to 30 for an overnight low. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, a little warmer with a high near 40. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Outside now, it's 20.
This is Robert Pilot, host of Native Roots Radio. On our show, we talk about Native issues like treaties, protecting Mother Earth, and holding our elected officials accountable. You'll also hear from Turtle Island voices like Arvina Martin, State Representative Heather Keeler, Ruth Anna Buffalo, Dr. Anthony Stately, State Senator Mary Kunish, Robert Lilligren, and Bob Blake. Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Native Roots Radio, weeknights at 8 on your local Civic Media radio station.
Is there an issue that's important to you? Would you like the President of the United States to know how you feel? Why not call the White House comment line? The number is 202-456-1111. The White House comment line is open from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Standard phone rates may apply. You may also send an e-message to the President at whitehouse.gov/contact. A public service message from the Civic Media Radio Network.
15 seconds until we're back.
It's 6:35 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Ooh, the spy music.
Intrigue
Nicely
and
done, Parker.
espionage.
I love it. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. This popped over the weekend, and it's no surprise. We've been talking last week about the odd coincidence that Tulsi Gabbard, who is the national security lead, was in Georgia when this raid on all the voting materials happened. Mm-hmm. And we saw a picture of her, very clandestine, the picture. She was in a long black coat. She was sneaking around a corner on her phone. And then it came out that she had called, while she was talking to the FBI agents who were handling the raid, she had talked to the president and had him talk to them. Well, there had been reports that there was a whistleblower who had leaked some communications that it were so sensitive they were in a vault. Well, it came out this weekend that this intelligence was brought to the attention of Tulsi Gabbard when it happened. It was about a phone call that happened between two people associated with foreign intelligence and just someone, we don't know who yet, close to the president. Now, we do know that Tulsi Gabbard is saying she kept this secretive or covered under executive privilege. So draw whatever conclusion you want. There's not too many people who have executive privilege, but it is starting to unravel. And again, not surprisingly, the stories that of why Tulsi Gabbard was there, who knew Tulsi Gabbard was in Georgia, and why this communication has not gone to Congress earlier it's gonna be a big story that actually leads to nothing, I fear.
Well, what I think is stunning about this is instead of allowing this to move through the normal channels, which we'll talk about how whistleblower complaints are supposed to work in a moment, Gabbard actually took a paper copy directly to Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, and then instructed the NSA not to formally publish anything with this report. And the whistleblower ended up contacting the inspector general in April, alleging Gabbard blocked the routine distribution of classified intelligence. A formal complaint was then filed in May. The information was still kept tightly restricted for months and not shared with Congress until much later. And then, as this administration likes to do, it was heavily redacted when they received it. Of course, Gabbard's office is saying she did nothing wrong, saying all actions were legal, and called the allegations politically motivated. Some Republicans have actually backed her handling of the matter. Just when you think they get a little bit of a spine and a backbone, saying that we should not post racist videos on social media, there's some things where they still draw the line. Now, the contents of what was in these files, as you mentioned, is still very unknown, in part because the administration has now cited executive privilege. Now, that alone, according to the whistleblower's attorney, suggests that the matter may involve the President of the United States. Members of Congress are now trying to obtain all of the underlying intelligence directly from the NSA, bypassing the Director of National Intelligence altogether. Again, this is actually truly stunning when you think about it at its core. And when people talk about this administration drifting towards authoritarianism, this is exactly what we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Because there's a process for all of this when it comes to these whistleblower complaints. And on average, especially when you're talking about national intelligence, it should only take 21 days for a claim like this to make it to Congress. We're talking 8 months now.
And shame on Tom Cotton and anybody else defending this action. You are, as Republicans, you are all about national security. You're all about making sure we are safe from our enemies. Well, it doesn't seem like our enemies are our enemies. Our enemies have now become our friends. And by our, I mean the administrations, not the American public. And our friends / allies have become our enemies. It's all backwards. So to not think this is a big deal and to back the fact that proper channels were not used is an abdication of your duty. Again, we'll put it on your tab, and the public will remember. But this is something that needs to be paid attention to. And as you mentioned, Jamie, and I had said it too, executive privilege only extends to one person. So if you're using that as cover, you're not doing a very good job.
Right.
Because you pretty much tipped your hand when you say we're not releasing it because of executive privilege. All right, well, what did the president say then? We didn't say it was the president. Well, you did. You did. You're just too dumb to know it.
Right. You know, and what I think is interesting about this is this really goes beyond the politics of it all. And I think that's what Republicans are still trying to play with this, is they're still trying to play the politics. And that's not what this is about at all. This is national security.
Right.
If senior officials are unwilling to follow the rules, do their jobs, and report potential concerns involving the president or even people close to him to Congress, that puts every single one of us at risk. I don't care how you vote. Every single one of us is at risk because of actions like this, because we don't know who these foreign entities were. We don't know what these communications were. We don't know who in the president's orbit was in these files, but each and every one of us is at risk when it comes to Congress not doing their jobs and this administration just doing what is convenient to them to protect individuals.
I saw someone, it was on one of the Sunday morning shows yesterday, had the suggestion that, listen, we need to just clean house. The Senate and the House everybody needs to go, both sides. We need to start from scratch. We need to rebuild because this Congress is not doing their job. They are not representing us. They are not protecting us. They are not providing the checks and balances that this whole system was designed on, I wouldn't have any problem. There's a lot of Democratic legislators that I like. I don't care.
course.
It's time to clean house. Everybody's got to go. We're going to find each state. We're going to have the governors find their representatives, and we're going to send some new blood, and we're going to see what happens. And maybe we get the same result. And then you go, okay, now it's time to actually give up hope. But until then, we're not getting any changes from these folks.
No, I agree with that. And I think that's why voters get so excited when somebody new jumps into the race every single time in their district or their voting precinct, because I think it is exciting to get new voices in there and to get people who haven't been in Congress for, obviously a little hyperbole, but it feels like 100 years in some cases.
Well, Mitch McConnell, you're getting close.
Well, yes, we are getting close, and I would even say Nancy Pelosi, we're getting
Nancy
a little close to that as well.
Well, she at least she's announced her retirement.
Yes, she has. Yes.
I don't. When I say poor Mitch McConnell, it's only it's poor Mitch McConnell because somebody keeps trotting him out there. Mitch McConnell, I believe, is the epitome of, or he's the cause of a lot of the situation we're in. So I have no sympathy for Mitch McConnell. I have sympathy for an old man who is being used now, in my opinion, as a prop and a puppet.
Yes.
But I don't have sympathy for that man as a human being.
Yes.
Or I do as a human being, not as a politician. There's nothing.
Agreed.
I'm not going to change my view on Mitch McConnell just because he's a doddering old man now. I'm gonna be like, that doddering old man needs to be at home resting. He doesn't need to be out.
Well, we've seen him pass
governing
out.
this country.
I mean, we've seen him actually fall over just walking. So yes, I
Yes.
think he does need to be at home resting.
Put him out to pasture.
I would say this is why I am a huge term limits fan, because of the discussion
Always.
we're having right now. I am a huge term limits fan for the Supreme Court. I don't believe that should be a lifetime appointment. I believe for Congress, I believe in term limits. It works for the presidency, hopefully, fingers crossed, depending on how the next few months go. But I believe that is something that we should have. And back to your point about if it still ends up in the same process with new people in there, and to me, then that's an overhaul of the entire system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then to me, that would be the argument that if even with new legislators in there, a brand new Congress in there, if that were something to ever happen, which let's be realistic,
It's
but
not.
if,
Yeah, right. But
if
we
that
can
were to
sometimes you can
Yeah.
just think and expound and
that would be an overhaul then of the entire system, to the point where I would have to say then maybe we need to relook at some of our constitutional amendments and figure out the best path for 2026 and beyond versus where we were at when that was written.
Right.
But let me also be clear on something. Every administration is going to keep some information from the public. Not everything is meant for public consumption. Let's be honest.
Oh no,
right?
I don't need right. And I've said this when they're talking about, operations where the military or the intelligence agencies have quashed potential attacks. We don't need to know every little thing. I want the government to be able to operate and to carry out operations. We elected them for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to handle that stuff. But when it comes to something like this, when it is, as you said, and rightfully so, it affects all of us. Every person in this country can be affected if the government is compromised by a foreign intelligence agency. We know that. We've seen it forever. It's been the backbone of this country to make sure we protect ourselves. That's why we have men and women in these intelligence communities who put themselves in danger every single day. And if someone has betrayed that, we need to root them out. And that's not overly dramatic. It's the truth. And if you don't believe that, I don't know where you moved here from. I don't know, because you couldn't have. I don't think any country would put up with this.
No.
No country would put up with this.
No. I mean, and there's a big difference between protecting sensitive information and actively burying it.
Right.
And if members of President Trump's cabinet are willing to suppress intelligence because it might reflect poorly on the president or his inner circle, we should all be worried about that. That's not how democracy functions, and it's not how national security is supposed to work.
No.
We have a system in place for these exact type of whistleblower reports. And when it comes to when it comes to our intelligence community, I think it should be. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be raised. The intelligence community and whistleblower reports are the only ones that have a 21-day span. The rest can be, they can be lengthened out a little bit over time. But the whistleblower for intelligence, anything to do with intelligence is supposed to have a 21-day window and go to Congress immediately. It's why we have the Gang of Eight in this country, and it's also why we have a SCIF, because that can be then taken up we're in the appropriate measures.
This is nothing new. This is happening with the Epstein files. It's happened with everything else. And I know we keep beating this horse, and sometimes I feel like it's a futile effort to even say it, but I think the more we say it, the more people may start to understand when is enough enough.
Right.
And what's your line? Was your line the accusations and the mentions in the files that are redacted because we have to protect people? Is it that there is now a complaint that someone may be compromised in this government by a foreign intelligence agency? Is that far enough? What's your line if you're still supporting this? It has to be something.
Yeah, Mark from Prairie du Sac chiming in on the text line this morning saying, what if the betrayer is the president himself? It's a good question. I guess we'll never know, because this administration just buries, and buries. Every single time it looks like it's going to negatively affect the president or anybody in his circle. 6:48 right now. You are listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. We'll talk about the Olympics next on the Civic Media Network.
To your inbox. Subscribe to the WMDX newsletter and never miss the stories right here in Madison. WMDXradio.com.
America is kept safe because the Army National Guard responds, protects, and supports our nation when it needs them most. From fighting wildfires with air support, helping civilians in flooded neighborhoods, to delivering food and supplies to those who have lost everything, the Army National Guard always responds when disaster strikes. The Army National Guard also trains to be ever vigilant against threats, foreign and domestic. They protect our skies with missile defense weaponry. They secure our information, communications, and infrastructure with cybersecurity. And they protect us against chemical, biological, and radiological hazards with the civilian support team. The Army National Guard also stands ready to deploy and provide support for conflicts or humanitarian missions abroad. Join the Army National Guard and be there to respond, protect, and support your community and your country. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
I'm Rick Smith, host of The Rick Smith Show. If you're looking for honest talk, real stories, and straight-up news that matters to you, tune in to The Rick Smith Show. We're digging into the issues that affect your job, your family, your future. Join me weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network, because your voice deserves to be heard. That's The Rick Smith Show, heard weeknights at 9 right here on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Listen to the Civic Media exclusive podcast, Busted Pencils.
Time to get your learning on. There's no shortage of things to be learning about. What's going across all of the cities right now with ICE protests or people in support of immigration enforcement. The push for public school reform, here's an opportunity to craft a very pro-public school, democracy matters platform.
Subscribe to Busted Pencils wherever you listen to podcasts.
You're a storyteller, negotiator, artist, innovator. Whatever your passion, whatever your skills, behind the scenes or in front, you belong here. A career in broadcast media. Local radio and TV stations in every town and city need someone like you. So do what you love and bring your talent to life. Your passion, your skills, your career. You belong here. Learn more at youbelonghere.media.
We've all felt left out. And for people who move to this country, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Your neighbors are talking.
15 seconds and door back.
.52 right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Network. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. This weekend, there was a lot going on, but I was transfixed for a lot of yesterday and some on Saturday with the Olympics. I finally realized, I had said the other day when we talked about the opening ceremony, that I am a big Winter Olympics fan more than Summer Olympics. And it finally came to me exactly why. It's the sense of danger and the sense of that in any of these events, you could be killed. Even the daintiest figure skater could decapitate another figure skater with her razor-sharp blades.
Yes.
So I love it. Unfortunately, the weekend at the Olympics started with some bad news, and we'll cover that first because Lindsey Vonn, who you know at 41, was trying to make a comeback. She blew out her ACL a couple weeks ago in a race and had been rehabbing and was going to make her comeback. She had said she was going to race. 13 seconds into her run the other day, she crashed and she had to be airlifted off the mountain. She broke her left leg, which is the same leg that she had blown out her ACL, but they say the injuries had nothing to do with it. Her pole caught, or her arm caught on the flag as she went down, and I get the scene. Thankfully they haven't been rerunning the accident. There were just some stills of her laying still on the mountain. Horrible. The screams were echoing down the mountain, they said, and everybody was watching because then it got super silent and they waited. The good news is she's in stable condition. They did the surgery. Italian and American doctors were there. So it appears she'll be okay.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. But her dreams of competing again seem to be done.
And it was a shame because she had done a trial run just the day before on that exact course, and she looked great, even with the ACL that was heavily braced. That knee, as you can imagine, was heavily braced. You could see it under. I don't know what the suits are that they wear, but they don't leave much for the imagination. Let's be realistic. And so you could see the outline of the brace, and she looked great. The big thing during that trial run, everybody watching, is she going to be able to have the bounce that she needs because of that knee? And the course was hard because it was freshly packed, and so there was all sorts of conversation. Got through it no problem. So a lot of expectations going into that race, and it was really, really unfortunate to see that happen. And she's no stranger to injury. I mean, Lindsey Vonn in her career, she has. But when you do a sport, like you said, that could kill you at any moment in time.
Right. I mean, that's and it's not that I like seeing someone injured. It's just it's
like
there's that
death-defying.
edge. It's you're on the edge of your seat watching these athletes, and one of the coaches said that the accident was made worse because she was in the air at the time when she caught on the flag. If she had been on the ground, she could have maneuvered a little better, but she was in the air, and that's what made it worse. And she has been injured a lot, and it just, thank goodness she's okay. And then her teammate, Breezy Johnson, goes on, and just like Lindsay won her gold medal in her first Olympics, Breezy Johnson, this is her first Olympics. She won the gold medal. So Team USA, a happy ending. Lindsey Vonn, not.
Yeah.
But some other happy endings yesterday.
Yeah.
Which is good.
There was a lot of fun stuff happening at the Olympics yesterday when you're cheering on Team USA. Layla Edwards made history early on in Milan after becoming the first black woman to be featured on the U.S. hockey team at the Winter Games.
Yeah.
And if you're watching U.S. women's hockey, or you haven't, please do, because there are a lot of Wisconsin ties, including some of the coaching staff for Team USA for the women. So make sure you're checking them out.
And
They're
it's a
very,
good
very
game.
talented.
You know, even if you don't need to be a homer. You could just go, man, these ladies are getting it done on the ice.
they're pretty amazing.
Can we talk about the quad god for a minute, Jamie? Please.
Please
Can we throw some flowers? No,
Yes.
you can give the report, but I don't want to miss out, by pandering to hometown enjoyment to leave the quad god out.
Well, I don't even know that much about the quad god. To be honest, I've only heard it referenced. So please enlighten
All
me
right.
a little bit this morning.
Ilya Melanin is a young man. He's 21. He's he's as they told me yesterday. He's the talk of the figure skating world. And I was like, well, I'm not in the figure skating world. So like you, Jamie, I don't know anything about the quad god, but I'm all about him now. He did a 2-leg backflip as part of his short program. He's a figure skater. And then Sunday it came down to on the figure skating team event, came down to China versus the U.S., and that meant their top skater versus the quad god. The quad god's technical score was over 200, which is what I learned a lot, which is what every figure skater shoots for.
Yeah, that I knew.
So they show that, the 200 for the technical. Then there's an unpublished performance score. So he had the score. He took the lead. The U.S. had the gold. Then it was time for the Chinese skater. This little guy, he's the talk of Chinese figure skating. He's a top-tier figure skater. His technical score was 198, but nobody knew his performance score. And the quad god had one little stumble coming out of his quadruple camel sworded flip. The USA comes out on top.
They prevailed.
The USA wins the gold in figure skating team competition. Now we're
Very
getting
nice.
yelled at. We have to go.
I was making meatballs. I guess I missed all of the excitement. I do know that J.D. Vance's motorcade almost delayed the, Alyssa Liu from the United States because it was taking up so much of the road that she couldn't actually get to her slotted time to skate, and walked in within minutes to spare. Wasn't even completely in her costume because of J.D. Vance's motorcade. And by the way, U.S. has 2 gold medals as of this morning. That's what they have from the Olympic Games as of right now. We're going to keep watching the medal count as we go here. It is 6:59 right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. I'm Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. When we come back after the news, hey, guess what? It's now easier to fire federal workers. That's fun, isn't it? Sure it is. This is the Civic Media Network.
Columbus, Madison's real news and great conversation. A Civic Media station. WMDXradio.com.
ABC News, I'm Mike Dubusky. Washington lawmakers today are getting a chance to view the unredacted Epstein files. And ABC's Nicole D'Antonio says this comes after new pressure from victims of Jeffrey Epstein.
A new PSA from some of Epstein's victims aired during the Super Bowl, calling for the release of the roughly 3 million files that are still unreleased. And over the weekend, Republican Congressman Thomas Massey accused his own party of protecting wrongdoers.
I vote with the president 91% of the time. The 9% of the time my party is taken up for pedophiles, bankrupting this country, or starting another war.
Massey also called on Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick to resign. The Epstein files released late last month show Lutnick planning meetings with Epstein, including one on Epstein's private island.
San Francisco public school teachers are set to go on strike this morning for the first time in 50 years, and Seattle is now planning a Wednesday parade for the Super Bowl champion Seahawks. This is ABC News.
This report brought to you by Chance Design Build, a full-service residential remodeler providing thoughtful, sustainable, and well-built spaces since 1992. ChanceDesignBuild.com.
From local news to what's going on around the state, Civic Media's mission is to bring you real news and great conversation. For Civic Media News, I'm Lisa Hale. The Wisconsin State Legislature's Joint Committee on Finance has unanimously passed legislation for nearly $2 million to support homeless veterans in the state. The funding for the Veterans Housing and Recovery Program is meant to address the closure of such programs in Green Bay and Chippewa Falls. The new grant program would award a $25 per diem payment per veteran housed to nonprofits and other organizations that provide housing and support services for veterans who are struggling with homelessness in our state. In honor of Black History Month, one University of Wisconsin is opening an exhibit featuring Dr. Martin Luther King. The showcase at UW-Eau Claire will be open all month, and according to UWEC officials, the exhibit in the Davies Center features 3 sections, one honoring prominent Black figures who spoke for the Forum series over the years, one that documents historical university programs supporting equality, and one that recognizes each winner of UWEC's Martin Luther King Jr. Social Justice Award. Landlord-tenant issues were the #1 consumer complaint with the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection in 2025. The agency released its list of the top 10 consumer complaints of 2025 last week. #2 were complaints about telemarketing, which included phishing, spoofing, imposter scams, robocalls, harassments, and violations of the Do Not Call registry. Rounding out the top 5 were complaints about home improvements, telecommunications, and identity theft. For Civic Media News, I'm Lisa Hale. For news anytime, visit our website at civicmedia.us.
Back to back with the Magic. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks are in Orlando, Florida for the first of 2 games against the Magic. The 2 teams play there tonight and again on Wednesday at the Kia Center. The Bucks' Giannis Antetokounmpo spotted at the Super Bowl last night here in San Francisco. Giannis has missed the last 6 games with a calf injury. The Seattle Seahawks winning their 2nd franchise Lombardi Trophy. They beat the Patriots 29-13. Quarterback Sam Darnold becoming the first quarterback to play for 5 different teams before winning his first championship. Darnold emotional after the win.
Yeah, it's just, it's special. I mean, I shared a great moment with my parents and my fiance Katie after the game, and I think that's what kind of got me a little bit. I told me and my dad don't really cry very often, and I told my dad I was, and my mom, I'm here because of their belief in me.
That's Seahawks quarterback Sam Darnold from Super Bowl 60. I'm Mike Clemens.
This report brought to you by Serenity Pet Spa, providing a sanctuary for dogs to be bathed, groomed, and pampered while enjoying free play with other dogs. SerenityPetSpaMadison.com.
It is going to be mostly cloudy with a few sprinkles or a flurry possible this afternoon. Our high in the upper 30s today. Tonight, mostly cloudy. Will drop to 30 for an overnight low. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, a little warmer with a high near 40. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Outside now, it's 20.
Aho, this is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio. On our show, we share stories from Turtle Island highlighting the people and issues shaping our communities. From protecting water to treaty rights and preserving languages and traditions, we cover it all. Hear voices like Arvina Martin of Emerge, Wisconsin, Dr. Stately, Robert Lilligren, and more. Because Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Native Roots Radio, weeknights at 8 on your local Civic Media radio station.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Peach Waba.
On the next Nightlight, I welcome Chris Opper and Kurt Krause from 15 seconds until we're back.
Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us. You're listening to the Civic Media Network, Civic Media Mornings. If you're in Wausau, listening on WXCO, in Wisconsin Rapids on WFHR, or in Madison on WMDX, we are glad that you are joining us. Hopefully you're not as tired as all of us celebrating the Super Bowl yesterday. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I am tired, and I am Brian Noonan. Good to have you with us. Thanks for being here. Tell your friends. You can also get involved in the conversation, 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Listen to us on the Civic Media app, where you can take us anywhere you want. That would be lovely. We've got our podcasts up there. You can listen to the show. You can do all kinds of things on the Civic Media app. So download that wherever apps are given away. Or sold, I guess. They're not sold. We just get
This
them
one's
for
free.
free.
Completely free.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
you don't
one's
have
free.
to buy. You don't have to buy nothing. Just all that. Look at what we give and give and give. That's why we're here. Old thinking or conventional thinking used to be, if you worked for the government, you were set. You'd have a good pension. You had long-term job stability because the government's not going anywhere, and you could. There were always jokes about government workers maybe taking a lot longer, but if you were a government worker, you seemed set. Well, that has changed a lot, and it changed even more because the Office of Personnel Management issued another rule this weekend, and it says that career employees no longer have long-standing job protections, and they don't have the ability to file to an independent board if they get fired because they disagreed with the president. So once again, the heavy hand of dear leader and potential authoritarianism comes into play.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the administration says that the change will improve accountability and performance while keeping a merit-based hiring in place. So veterans will have preference, and there will also be whistleblower protections. If you joined us last hour, though, we just talked about the fact that there has been a whistleblower for the NSA, and that really hasn't gone anywhere or been protected other than being protected in a vault by Tulsi Gabbard. But, we digress. Whatever. Now, critics warn, though, that this could be used to push employees who follow the law instead of political loyalty, weaken safeguards, and chill free speech, which I think is exactly what the goal of all of this is, right? This is not happening in a vacuum. Since Trump's second term began, the federal workforce has shrunk by more than 240,000 employees nationwide through layoffs, buyouts, and agency closures. And this is what the president had to say 2 weeks ago. Cut 3, please.
We cut millions of people off the federal payroll. I don't like doing that, but the good news, I don't feel badly because they're getting private sector jobs. And they're getting sometimes twice as much money, 3 times as much money. They're getting factory jobs. They're getting much better jobs and much higher pay.
Wow. All right, let me ask. Where's a factory job that's paying 3 times more than a government salary? My resume is always ready. You never know. In this business, you always have a resume on hand.
You do.
You're
Absolutely.
good to go.
It's interesting, though, because here's the thing. Federal, state, and local employees are public servants. They do their jobs every single day, regardless of who's in power or which party's in charge.
Yeah.
These are career employees. And just like we saw at the beginning of the presidency under Doge, this isn't about saving money. This is going to be about replacing anybody who might question the administration's decisions or their motives. That could be Democrats. It could be even the Reagan-type conservatives who understand how government is supposed to work. But if you have any sort of, if you are going to question this particular administration, they just don't want you around. You're completely useless to them because they want to push through whatever agenda it is, and they want people who strictly agree with that to be in office. Now, here's where this gets dangerous, because at some point, fingers crossed, this administration is not going to be in power. So now you're going to be left with a bunch of federal employees who only believe in what one administration does. That's not what career public servants do. That's not what they do at all. Here in Wisconsin, just in case anybody's interested, Brian, roughly 24 federal workers have left since November of 2024. Jobs have dropped from 31,300 to 28,900.
2,400. You said 24 federal workers have left.
I'm sorry,
I was like, that's not many.
No, 2,400. I
2,400 is a
apologize.
huge. That's okay.
It's Monday. Still catching up.
No, I understand. I thought maybe you pulled a Tony Evers veto and just took off those 2
I
zeros.
just took out a couple zeros. It's fine. Combined,
all right.
thanks. No, we're good.
Okay.
But leaving remaining staff like VA workers with heavier workloads and new challenges to maintain some of the standards. Many former employees are also struggling to find work or have had to relocate. Remember all those factory jobs we just heard him talking
Maybe
about?
they're looking in the wrong spot because I hear the private sector, especially factories, are very big on it. If you own a factory, please call us and list some of these jobs because I know people are looking for work and they'd be happy to work for 3 times what their government salary used to be.
Right, according to the president, at least. All of this, especially if we look at just Wisconsin, right, and the 2,400 workers, federal workers that we've lost in this state, all of this has created instability. There's reports of low morale. There's disrupted agency operations across the state and as well as the country, because again, 240,000 across the country. And this is just a massive reshaping of the federal workforce. And it raises serious questions about the independence as well as the integrity of our career civil service, I think.
And this is not just top-level bureaucrats who have a direct line of reporting to the president or his administration. This is, as you said, rank and file workers who have as much right to have their own thoughts as anybody else who doesn't work for the government. But by the time they finish making all these cuts, I don't know where they think the mindset of people who are now having to work in either skeleton crewed agencies or have been let go. Where are they going to be supportive of the president at this point? I doubt it. And it hurts the government. It hurts the local economies.
Yeah.
It hurts everything except a fragile ego of one man who wants nothing but fealty from anybody even associated with the government.
Yes.
Your mailman, your mail carrier, I should say, is a government worker.
Yes. Well, and we've seen how the United States Postal Service, just that alone, is being reshaped and reworked for more Amazon delivery and things like that. So, yeah.
Yes, it all, if you take a step back and you look big picture, because we tend to focus on the big picture, but we're also so busy with all the smaller things that make up the small pixels of information that make up this big picture, that when you step back, you go, oh, it all is kind of going, it's all feeding in. It's a funnel to one ultimate goal.
Right.
And you can decide what that ultimate goal is for yourself. You don't need me to tell you it, even though I will. It's one person and one party running everything. But it all funnels down and it makes sense. And that's why we always talk about you have to speak up.
Yeah,
we all
absolutely.
have to speak up. And it's easier. I would imagine it's easy to speak up if you're one of these 2,400 Wisconsin federal workers who have been either fired, got to the point where they retired, where you just go, listen, I've been here long enough. I can afford to retire. Or you just quit because you're fed up. Yeah. It's easier to speak up then. But, once the thought police are in control, which that is the goal, I think, if you don't agree or be gone.
Yeah. And it's funny because with White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt defended some of this by saying that employees who aren't performing or working on behalf of the president are not welcome to work for him at all. So that tells you exactly.
But they don't work for him.
No, but anybody who works for the federal government or is involved in government whatsoever is perceived as a personal employee of this particular president.
Like
and
the
what
states.
I think, it's almost like he's trying to run Mar-a-Lago or, one of his motels because he thinks that they all work specifically for him. That's not actually how any of this works.
No.
Now, if you are a federal employee or you know somebody who is and you want to chime in on this conversation this morning, we'd love to hear from you. 1-855-752-4842. That's 1-855-75-CIVIC.
Yeah, it would be interesting to hear because just what is the mindset when who do you think you work for? I would imagine if I worked for, I don't know, let's say the transportation department. Well, I work for the transportation department. The secretary of transportation is my ultimate boss. I don't consider the fact that just because I work in you work in the government, you don't work for the government.
Right.
And in the government is whatever. That's why we hear about attorneys general who have been appointed by one administration, but they served in 3 administrations, because they don't work for the guy. They work for the country. They work for the institution of the Justice Department. But yes, his goal is to just have people who work and say what he wants to hear.
Yes.
And we can't say that enough. I mean, I probably could. People are like, yeah, we get it. What are you going to do about it? I don't have. This is what I can do about it. I can tell people about it.
We can tell people
That's
about
what
it.
I
Yeah.
can do about it.
What I think is interesting is Trump actually tried this during his first presidency when he signed an executive order that created a similar classification that was known as Schedule F, and that was back in 2020. Then President Biden, when he became president, actually rescinded that order, and then Trump, as you can imagine, reinstated it. One of the first things he actually did when he became president was reinstate that Schedule F type rule. No, and I get it. When it comes to talking about the federal government, we need to make government work better. We've talked about that numerous times here on this program, and some agencies could totally use an overhaul. I will be the first to admit this.
There is waste in this government.
Yes.
There's been waste in this government since the 1700s.
Yes. But this isn't about efficiency. This is not what this administration is doing. This is about making sure people who fully support the president's agenda are in these jobs. And it is about pushing out anybody that they feel is a dissenter. That is what they're doing.
And back to Caroline Levitt's comments, I am sure that there are performance reviews with government jobs, just like there are performance reviews with our job, with my wife's job. Everybody I know gets a performance review once a year. I would find it impossible to believe that the government also doesn't have performance reviews. So once again, a lie that, that is trying to hide what is really happening.
Of course. And Len chiming in over on our text line this morning saying it's the God complex, or more accurately, the alternate, the Satan complex. I just don't think this administration cares about people. They don't care about people.
No.
They don't. Obviously, the actions that we've seen from this administration would prove that they absolutely do not care about actual people or the ramifications or how it's going to affect them. They just don't care. And that's the bottom line, I think, when it comes to what we've been seeing from the federal workers all the way up to the ICE raids. They absolutely, it's almost like they just don't have emotions for human beings. And that is scary and sad all at the same time.
This was a money-making scheme and a power grab from the start, hence the suing the IRS, which is us, for $10 billion of taxpayer money and everything else that has gone on. It's rough. But, hey, listen, there's good news. Because maybe you're thinking 4 years of college might be too expensive. What if I could get my bachelor's degree in 3 years? UW-Madison may be able to hook you up. I'm Brian Noonan.
I'm Jamie Martinson. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Network.
Where your neighbors argue politely.
Tax season is here. Ramos Tax and Services has been saving you money for over 25 years. Locally owned, open year-round. Get $20 off business and $10 off personal returns. 608-442-8170 or visit 658 South Gammon Road.
Every story matters, and the Civic Media Radio Network is celebrating Black History Month by honoring the powerful stories of Wisconsin's own trailblazers. Meet Rob Dees, the Madison artist and educator, adds his own twist to Black History Month.
For me, it's always a responsibility to be Black History every day. I appreciate the month, and I'm going to celebrate it to the fullest, but it's also an importance there to be Black History every day.
Rob lives what he says, too. One example, mentoring troubled kids to embrace their own stories and share through the power of hip-hop music.
Trying to get kids to really understand their story is important, their struggle is important. I've often heard the word inspiration associated with what I do, but like my biggest hope of inspiration is to inspire others. And I feel like these babies are the future, so we gotta inspire them.
Rob is lifting up the next generation while still honoring the past. Listen for more inspiring stories all month long. I'm Terry Barr.
Hey there, Wisconsin. Tom Hartman here. Democracy is not a spectator sport, so join me each and every weekday right here on Civic Media for the Tom Hartman program from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Covering the news of the day and sharing ways for you to get off the sidelines and get active in your community, because change starts with you. Get involved and tune in to the Tom Hartman program Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. right here on your local Civic Media radio station.
Where working people come to talk. It's The Rick Smith Show, weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network. Join me for an honest approach to the issues American working families care about. No talking points, no focus groups. Get ready for a heavy dose of democracy, fairness, grit, and no apologies. It's current affairs from a working class labor perspective. Facts are center, science is real. And
15 seconds until we're back.
Good morning. Hope your Monday is off to a great start. You're listening to the Civic Media Network, Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And good morning. I'm Brian Noonan. It is Monday. If you want to get involved in the program, 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. I'm excited about this. If you are a parent whose child is about to head to college, or you've been saving for college, or if you're someone like our boy aquarium inhabitant Parker, who recently graduated from college, you know how expensive college can be. And there's alternatives, of course. You could maybe go to junior college and transfer. You could go to trade school, which is not cheap, but there's all different ways. But UW-Madison, the Regents are thinking about a little policy change and the whole system where they could offer reduced credit or 3-year bachelor degree programs.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you've gone to school, the first couple of years are all general education stuff anyway, which most of us took in high school. And it's like, well, I took creative writing in high school. Why do I need to take it again in college and pay exorbitant fees for it? Can't we just jump into my major class? Which is part of the reason some people opt for junior college prior to going to university. So this is great. I believe it's a good way to move on, a 3-year plan instead of 4.
And in case you're wondering how this would work,
How would it work?
Instead of the traditional 120 credits, these degrees would typically require just 90, which would potentially shave an entire year off of a student's time in college and significantly lower the cost. Now, right now, Mount Mary University in Milwaukee is the only 4-year school throughout the state offering this reduced credit degree after launching the program earlier this year. The UW Board of Regents reviewed the proposed policy changes on Friday without discussion, and it's expected to vote on them at a future meeting. Now, a typical full-time undergraduate course, which not a lot has changed. I went to college in the Stone Age, but not a lot has changed. The course load is 12 to 18 credits per semester, so you'd be cutting 30 credits. That would make a major difference in both time and the tuition fees for students. I love this idea, right?
I do too.
I really love this idea.
And when you say reduce, people are, oh, how much? Well, at UW-Madison, tuition and fees for 2025-26 are about $12,186 for in-state students and $44,000 for out-of-state students.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. So if you could cut a third of or a quarter of that out, you're saving. If you're an out-of-state student, you're saving yourself about $45,000.
And
at
let's be
least.
realistic. At the time that we live in, a lot of students are arriving on campus with college credits from AP classes or dual enrollment programs. In fact, nationwide, about 2.5 million students participated in dual enrollment during the 2022 to 2023 school year. At UW-Madison, about 7% of students from that 2022 freshman class graduated in 3 years, which was up from less than 2% just 15 years ago. The current average time to graduate is just under 4 years. And I'll be honest, I went into college, I'm an overachiever, but I went into college with...
Yes, Doogie Howser, please do explain.
Oh, no, I wasn't that smart. But I went in, thank you. I went in with several AP credits. And so I started out and was able to get out of at least 4 or 5 of my gen ed classes because I went in with AP credit. Now, I also ended up taking so many classes that overlapped. I ended up graduating with double degrees and a bunch of minors because all my genres were so closely related that it just started making sense to align it like that. And I was able to do it in the 4 years' time. However, what I will say is I probably should have stayed an extra semester because I was doing so much work. But if I would have had the option at, again, in the Stone Age to go in with more AP courses and to be done in 3 years, I would have done that in a heartbeat. I would have been so excited about that because let me be very honest, the only reason my school loans are paid off is because I had to forbear so often because I was a stay-at-home mom is because of President Biden. That's the only reason my school loans got paid off. So I will forever be grateful to him for many things, right? I know I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
Living
come
free
on.
off the government. But no, it was one of the most appreciated things that has ever happened to me, honestly, because of the fact that we were paying on these every month and we had to forbear for so often because of the fact that I stayed home to raise our kids for as long as I did. So I will always be appreciative of that.
Yeah. So this is some UW Milwaukee is saying they want to do it. Lakeshore College saying they want to do it. I would imagine if you're paying your loans now or you're paying your kids' loans, you would have liked that opportunity. Like Jamie said, I know I sure would have liked it. Molly only had to go 3 years. And she had, I don't get to brag about AP credits because I thought AP was a grocery store. So I did not go, I did not take any of those classes. But Molly did it. So she went in with credits too. And you still got to go the 4 years. It's like, come on.
Yeah. I only got out of a few AP courses, but if I could have shrunk a year off that, I would have totally loved to do it.
Yeah.
What I will say too is I think we live in a day and age where if you're a student or somebody wants to continue your education, you're actually really lucky because we have so many different options. You listed some of them between the junior colleges, the technical schools, the 4-year degrees, if you want to do the traditional route or a potential 3-year degree. None of this is a wrong way to get your education. And it finally feels like maybe higher education is meeting people where they are instead of forcing everyone into the same little shoebox. And I can definitely appreciate that. Not everybody learns the same. Not everybody wants to spend the same amount of time in a classroom. And, if you're somebody who wants to continue your education or go back for a degree, I think a 3-year program is also really a great option for those folks too.
Yeah, let's get out. Listen, it's not like we don't need the money because homes and everything else are not affordable. I know I'm not supposed to use that word.
Those factory jobs, though, Brian, they are paying 3 times.
Now you're talking because that's what I hear. Private sector factory jobs, 3 times more than government work.
What we're told.
Listen, the economy's in trouble, and ICE raids are not helping the economy in Minnesota. We're going to talk about that on the other side with Sean Fettaplace from the national. He's the national campaign. Yeah, Main Street Alliance. So there we go. On the Civic Media Network. She's Jamie Martinson. I'm Brian Noonan.
You're Brian Noonan.
I'm running over because I'm driving Parker crazy.
Well done.
Online at downtrends.com or visit the tasting room in Cottage Grove.
Fresh off the big game on Sunday, we're talking athletes and agriculture. I'm PM Yankee. Now, from the Rural Mutual Insurance Farm News Desk, here's what's happening on a Monday. Marcus Landry is our example today. He played basketball with UW-Madison from 2005 to 2009, then spent the next decade playing professional basketball, including time in the NBA. But when a major injury sidelined him at the age of 35, he had to figure out what his next step would be. And it turned out to be 20 acres of paradise near East Troy. He owns and operates Beulah Family Homestead, and he says he's using it as a teaching platform through 4-H to help youth find their spotlight.
Through the 4-H program, we're able to help them through showing animals and different things like that, raise money for their scholarship fund. So that was our way to taking what we already have and applying it and making it a little bigger. So we have kids raising money. We have kids that already have some money in their scholarship funds. They show horses. They show rabbits. Yeah, we have rabbits too. They show rabbits. They show chickens and other animals. We have some kids that are raising money right now so that they can learn to drive, because we have Clydesdales, right? They want to learn to drive, and it's fun and it's a lot of work at the same time.
Marcus Landry, former pro NBA player, now farming near East Troy at Beulah Family Homestead. He said not only does the farm help kids jumpstart their own businesses, he said it also helps students that struggle in school trying to find a new attitude and a new path forward. He said he can document that some of the students he's worked with have avoided jail time through his programs.
Did you know you can leverage crop insurance to benefit your bottom line? Ag Country Farm Credit Services can help. Choosing the right coverage for your goals can help maximize margins, strengthen your marketing strategy, and build a more resilient operation overall. As you plan for the season ahead, focus on more than just managing risk. Call 800-450-9858 to speak with one of our dedicated crop insurance officers. This institution is an equal opportunity provider and employer.
Supreme International is bringing its legendary know-how to an all-new standard lineup of TMR mixers, except there's nothing standard about it. With the Precision Ag Series, every model is purpose-built for how you feed. From once-a-day mixing to commercial operations and everything in between, there's a Precision Series TMR mixer to fit. Maximize your uptime, consistency, and efficiency with the reliable performance Supreme is known for. Talk to your local Supreme dealer today.
Don't forget to sign up for our daily e-newsletter. You can do that at MidwestFarmReport.com. This agribusiness update brought to you by Rural Mutual Insurance. Wisconsin only, Wisconsin strong. Find your local insurance agent at ruralmutual.com. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Pam Yankee.
This report brought to you by Sugar River Pizza, your catering expert. Host your party in their gorgeous Sun Prairie location or a venue of your choice. SugarRiverPizza.com.
It is going to be mostly cloudy with a few sprinkles or a flurry possible this afternoon. Our high in the upper 30s today. Tonight, mostly cloudy. We'll drop to 30 for an overnight low. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, a little warmer with a high near 40. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Outside now, it's 20.
Doctors Without Borders is delivering life-saving medical care where it's needed most in communities around the world. From bandaging war-wounded patients in Sudan to providing clean drinking water in Haiti, we're in more than 70 countries worldwide, bringing patients from sick to recovering, from emergency to aid, from crisis to care. This life-saving care is made possible by a global movement of supporters like you. Thank you.
This is Robert Pilot, host of Native Roots Radio. On our show, we talk about Native issues like treaties, protecting Mother Earth, and holding our elected officials accountable. You'll also hear from Turtle Island voices like Arvina Martin, State Representative Heather Keeler, Ruth Anna Buffalo, Dr. Anthony Stately, State Senator Mary Kunish, Robert Lilligren, and Bob Blake. Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Native Roots Radio.
15 seconds till we're back.
You're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network, Civic Media Mornings. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us. We always appreciate it. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Small business owners across Minnesota are experiencing a lot of economic harm due to Operation Metro Surge and the ongoing ICE occupation of their city. That's why we needed to find out just how bad it is for small businesses. Sean Fettiplace is the National Campaign Director for Main Street Alliance. They represent tens of thousands of small business owners nationwide and over 1,500 in Minnesota alone. Sean, thanks for taking some time today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me here.
So let's start. For those who don't know, give us an overview of Main Street Alliance and what you guys do. I mentioned you represent all these small businesses, but what do you do for them?
Yeah, so we're an organization that really focuses on getting better policy for small businesses. So whether that's fair access to healthcare, childcare, paid family medical leave, which we help pass in Minnesota, and we work to help folks engage with lawmakers, with the press, and with the public to make sure that we have an economy that works for everyone, including those Main Street businesses we all love.
So, Sean, I know you are meeting with the governor's office in Minneapolis right now. You've had some of these ongoing conversations. And as of right now, Minneapolis officials say that city businesses are losing right around $20 million a week, potentially more than $100 million already because of these ICE raids. So from your perspective and from the perspective of Main Street Alliance, is this current level of support anywhere close to matching the scale of the damage that we're currently seeing?
No. So first off, most estimates, there's community development financial institutions and the city of Minneapolis have done a lot of analysis, and it's in the hundreds of millions of dollars in economic damage so far. Clearly, the murders of Alex Preddy and Renee Good and others in the violations of civil rights and human rights is the main thing. I'll just note that Alex was killed immediately on the doorsteps of a member business of ours, Glamdoll, in the East Street neighborhood. And there needs to be a couple of things happening. First is philanthropy needs to come in big, and they need to come in big quick. They need to figure out ways to get cash assistance directly to businesses so that they can make payroll and that they can pay rent, because otherwise there's going to be a huge amount of people losing their jobs. We've heard that the economic downturn from this is worse than COVID for a lot of them. And the feds are not coming in because they're the ones causing this problem in the first place. And so there's going to be a need for the city, for the state, to really come in, but that's going to take some time. The legislative session doesn't start till the 17th. So in the meantime, we're doing everything we can to help raise funds to get to folks, but we're also going to need long-term economic stabilization so that the city doesn't descend into an economic depression.
Well, I would imagine that the local government, the mayor and the governor, they're interested in helping. What are you hearing from them?
Yeah, so we've had meetings with both Mayor Frey and with Governor Walz's team. And what I would say is that they're trying to figure out right now a series of proposals that could pass the legislature. The lower house right now is evenly split, 67-67. So that will require Republican votes. Now, there are Republican lawmakers that represent parts of Hennepin County, where Minneapolis is located. And so the focus is going to be on them. There's still discussions ongoing. It does look like some combination of forgivable loans, kind of like PPP during COVID, the Payment Protection Program, combined with grants, could be a solution. I know we have had discussions of packages in the range of about $100 million, which is a lot of money, but compared to the overall state budget, which is in the tens of billions, it should be achievable with some revenue raised. And maybe some of that revenue could be raised from the large corporations who haven't done jack squat about ICE, ICE's presence in the state and putting out really milquetoast statements about it. But regardless, there's going to need to be that action. So they're doing everything they can. They're listening to small business owners. They're talking to the stakeholders and coming up with a plan to address it. But it's going to require a lot of work to get it across the finish line.
We're talking with Sean Fettiplace. He is the National Campaigns Director for Main Street Alliance. And Sean, if these raids continue, if the presence of ICE continues in the city of Minneapolis, what do the next few months look like for some of these Minneapolis businesses that are already obviously operating, based on what we're talking about, on very thin margins?
They're going to go under. You're looking at losses in excess of 80% in some cases. There's some businesses that aren't as impacted because of the nature of the business and where they're located. But especially food service, restaurants, public meeting spaces. I was talking to somebody who has a meeting space in the city, and just all of them are canceled. And it's not only canceled for this month, but people often, if you have an event venue space, you're booking months in advance, but those bookings aren't happening right now because people are unsure of the safety situation. So there's going to be tail end effects of this, even if Homan, came to his senses, even the president came to his senses and pulled out all the surge ICE troops. Now, you're still going to have people who are not going to feel safe coming into those businesses. You're still going to have folks who, because of economic loss, maybe missed their paychecks or had to get laid off. And so, it's pretty dramatic. Right now, the estimates are that between $10 and $20 million a week is being lost in revenue by these businesses. And especially those businesses that are most impacted are the ones who, are these immigrant businesses that, they themselves, but also their staff. Those corridors are being impacted the most.
And I think it's important, Sean, you can speak to this. When we talked about the protests, they were limited to a couple smaller areas across the city. But this economic hardship is crossing all the neighborhood lines. It's covering the whole city, right? And I've got to imagine it's moving into St. Paul as well.
Yes. And, some of these areas were already struggling there's been, whether it's the murder of George Floyd and some of the impacts of that. You had Speaker Hortman assassinated. There's been a lot of political violence in Minnesota, which is deeply troubling. But yeah, this is the thing about it is that this is going to impact everyone. And, if you love your local restaurant, your local bar, your local bookstore, even if you don't live in Minnesota, since a lot of your listeners are in Wisconsin, but if you, what I would say for folks who are listening to this is look up some local businesses in Minnesota and Minneapolis and order online, buy a gift card, do something you can to support those folks. And I know that they'll greatly appreciate it in this moment.
Sean, I want to bring things back over to the border just a little bit into Wisconsin because we've heard reports of ICE raids near the Wisconsin-Minnesota border affecting really small towns. We've heard instances in Baldwin, Wisconsin, where the population is only about 4,500. So what happens to a local economy when a large share of the town's workforce suddenly just disappears or stays home out of fear?
I would say, first off, it impacts all parts of the economy. It impacts the businesses operating. It also impacts the schools. People, if they're keeping their kids home, that's going to impact, their education. And it also it has a chilling effect as well of folks who are in these areas who are looking to invest, looking to start small businesses, but see the ongoing impacts of this and may think twice. And so, I do worry. There are definitely parts of Western Wisconsin, which I won't name because I don't want to give ICE any ideas, but they, there's really large pockets of, folks who, some of whom are documented and some of whom are not documented, who, are in these smaller towns that frankly are easier targets for ICE and others. And so I know there's been a lot of activity in Eau Claire. And even if you have 700 troops that are apparently being redeployed, I'll wait to see if that actually happens or not, out of Minnesota, they have to go somewhere. ICE has gotten, I think it's over in excess, it's around 100 billion. I believe they got an excess funding from the big ugly law. And so they have all these folks that they recruited that they gave $50,000 signing bonuses to, who need to go somewhere. So I do worry that Minneapolis, in some sense, has been a testing ground for a lot of this, and we need to remain vigilant. And that's why it's so important for the Senate to take action to demand real reforms with the way that the agency is operating and not just kicking the can down the road.
Sean Fetterplace is our guest. He's the National Campaign Director for Main Street Alliance. MainStreetAlliance.org is their website if you want to get more information about what they do for small businesses. You mentioned philanthropy a few times, Sean. In the whole scheme of things, in the past, where has that philanthropy come from to help out causes like this? And where are you hoping, other than the big corporations, in the Twin Cities that you said haven't really stepped up to the plate yet. Where does that philanthropy usually come from?
I mean, some of it does come from those businesses, but not all. But there are a lot of folks, a lot of foundations nationally that are looking at ways to deploy resources. I'll just tell you one that has already happened, which is the Minneapolis Foundation, which is headed by R.T. Ryback, who's the former mayor of the city. They've raised about $4 million, which they're working to distribute to local groups who are working with impacted businesses across the city. And there's been a lot of emergency meetings and calls to discuss process around that to make sure it's moving expeditiously. But that's, like I said, $4 million, which while is certainly helpful, is like 5% of the need at most. And so I think it's really important for national groups, and we've been in touch with a bunch of them, to come in to either support the efforts of the Minneapolis Foundation. We have our own fund that we've launched as well, the Open for Tomorrow Fund, which will be going to direct cash support for businesses. And I think that's they're able to move quicker, and it's also not government money. And frankly, I think there will be some safeguards needed, just given the absolute, I would say, some partially legitimate concerns about fraud and issues. And there's been some court cases and some issues in Minnesota around that. But there's also just like the feeding frenzy from like Nick Shirley and these other folks that are also really stretching or lying about what's really happening there. And that's why it's even more important for philanthropy to come in, because those are private dollars, and versus government, which has a role and is going to be really important, but it's just going to not move quickly enough with the proper safeguards to get the money in a timely manner.
Sean, we've got just about a minute left. I know you've been meeting with local and state level leaders in Minnesota, but is there anything, because I know these are federal raids, but is there anything they can do immediately if they want to prevent permanent closures and job losses besides the philanthropy?
Just give them business. Like, just give them business, encourage. There's actually a press conference happening in St. Paul as we speak, talking about a need to shop small to support those local businesses next week. I mean, I think that's the thing that the people who are listening to this are able to do, either in person or by ordering product online or in gift cards. And then as far as like what they can do now is every local elected, every mayor, every city council person, every governor should be calling their senators to demand that there's a list of demands that Leader Jeffries, maybe that's next year, Leader Jeffries and Leader Schumer demanded for substantive reforms in DHS and ICE. And so that's what needs to get done and get done right now.
Sean Fetterplace has been our guest. He's the National Campaign Director of Main Street Alliance, mainstreetalliance.org. Sean, thank you for joining us. Thanks for all the information. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
You're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network.
Impacts you and your community from the Midwest Farm Report throughout your day on 92.7 WMDX.
Choosing a florist for Valentine's Day for the best and freshest flowers in Waterloo, Lake Mills, Marshall, Deerfield, and surrounding areas, Waterloo Blooms has exactly what you're looking for. Call 920-478-8600 or stop by today.
Did Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers allow unauthorized immigrants to get taxpayer-funded health care? No.
But the veto that Governor Evers did, allowing illegal aliens to continue to get taxpayer-funded health care, I mean, that's just a bad veto.
Contrary to Republican U.S. Representative Tom Tiffany's December 10th claim that Evers' veto allowed taxpayer-funded coverage, no such coverage exists. Unauthorized immigrants are not eligible for federally or state-funded health care coverage in Wisconsin. 14 states use state funds to cover unauthorized immigrants, but Wisconsin does not. Evers vetoed a Republican-backed bill December 5th that would have barred public funds for health care coverage for unauthorized immigrants, calling it polarizing political rhetoric. Fact briefs are bite-sized fact checks of trending claims produced by Wisconsin Watch and GigaFact. Read more at wisconsinwatch.org.
Reading aloud to children sharpens their listening skills, expands their vocabularies, and nurtures a lifelong love of reading. That's why Reading is Fundamental, the nation's leading children's literacy nonprofit, offers free monthly read-alouds by popular authors through its Rally to Read program. Visit rallytoread.org to watch the read-alouds and discover exciting reading activities for school and home. Visit rallytoread.org today.
Pete Schwaba.
Heinz ketchup has to be stopped. They have the keg chup now for Super Bowl parties that they're pushing. 114 ounces or something like that. And then they had remember, it was the ketchup smoothie, Conrad.
Oh.
They had the horrible ketchup smoothie. And then they've also got ketchup smoothie. Oh, ranch ketchup. Enough ranch. We can be done with ranch. It's a fine product, but it's gotten into everything. There are people dipping ranch in ranch, and it's wrong.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 5 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I'm Rick Smith, host of The Rick Smith Show. If you're looking for honest talk, real stories, and straight-up news that matters to you, tune in to The Rick Smith Show. We're digging into the issues that affect your job, your family, your future. Join me weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network, because your voice deserves to be heard. That's The Rick Smith Show, heard weeknights at 9 right here on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Every 15 seconds, someone is diagnosed with cancer. If it's happened to you or someone you love, the American Cancer Society...
15 seconds until we're back.
It's 7:52 right now. Thank you for joining us on this Monday. If you're listening in Eau Claire on 93.5 The Tap, or also in Wisconsin Rapids on WFHR, or in Oshkosh and Appleton on WISS, we hope you are having a great morning. You're listening to the Civic Media Network. This is Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. We want to know what you thought of the halftime show. There was a lot of buzz building up to it. What did you think? 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Yes, Baboni took the stage yesterday, and while I did not understand 98% of the words that came out of his mouth, I loved it. He came out and it was energy from the start, Jamie. He came out and he introduced himself in Spanish, but I do have the English translation. He said, "My name is Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, and if I'm here today at Super Bowl 60, it's because I never stopped believing in myself, and you should also believe in yourself. You're worth more than you think." And that inspiring message carried through this entire performance. Yeah. I would have loved to have been one of the blades of grass in this thing. Because I was like, where'd they breed those bushes? Then I realized there were people in there scurrying around in grass.
It was great. The whole thing was so energetic. It was, even if you didn't catch a lyric, you had to have a good time. And there were so many cameos by other celebrities. Because if you didn't catch it, Cardi B was part of the dance, was in with those dancers.
Yeah, and that little house set.
Yeah,
there were a bunch of people dancing, and they were on the porch. You had to really look. Cardi B was there.
Cardi B was there, also supporting her boyfriend, Stephon Diggs. That didn't go well for him last night. But anyway, Jessica Alba, Carol G, Pedro Pascal, and young Miko was in there. Alex Earl was also in there. And then, of course, if you watch the halftime show, Lady Gaga showed up. I thought she was brilliant. She sang in English. For anybody who was offended by the fact that there was no English in this particular show, I was not one of them.
I was not one of them either.
Ricky Martin also showed up, so it was a good time.
And then, Lady Gaga and Baboni really looked like they were having a good time together. They were dancing and she was singing. And Ricky Martin came in and I was like, "Is that Ricky Martin?" Oh, he has aged very well, Ricky
Oh,
Martin.
he has.
Oh,
He
muy
has.
bueno.
Yes,
Mhm.
Ricky Martin looked great. And I will say this: the wedding portion, if you watch the halftime
Yes.
show, that was an actual wedding. That couple had invited Bad Bunny to their wedding, and instead of going to their wedding, he brought them to the halftime show, and they got married officially during the middle of that halftime show, in the middle of that halftime performance, which I think is
It was
amazing.
great. We have some texts coming in. Tom in Hartford says, I like the halftime show. And Dolores in Madison said, I am so blessed to be bilingual to enjoy the halftime in both languages. Yeah, that's when I was like, man, 4 years of Latin and a year of Greek in high school did not really help me with Bad Bunny. Had I spoken Spanish. But you could still, if you allowed yourself to say, okay, it's in Spanish. Bad Bunny is from Puerto Rico. They speak a lot of Spanish in Puerto Rico. A lot of people in America speak Spanish.
Yes.
Talk to some of your neighbors. I'm sure they speak Spanish. But if you just let yourself be pulled into the experience, the music, if you weren't moving a little bit, I saw a funny video of John Hamm dancing on the sidelines. John Hamm was, well, he's a renowned Bad Bunny fan. But I mean, I'm sitting in the chair and I'm trying to get Debbie to get up and do a little salsa. She would not. She wanted nothing to do with my moves because my moves are sweet and erotic. But if you just let it wash over you,
Yeah.
you realize what was going on. And then if you were paying a little more attention, just past the fun of the music,
Yeah.
you're like, there's a story here. I might not get it all, but
Yeah.
I do get the power lines in Puerto Rico.
Of course.
I do the wedding, like you said, the symbolic gesture of handing, who a lot of people thought was actually the
Liam
young
Ramos,
Liam from Minnesota. It was not. It was an actor, but it was symbolic of handing him the thing. There were a lot of stories, a lot of storylines running through there. It was great.
There were. And if you watched all the way to the end, you'll know that Bad Bunny spoke in English, saying, God bless America, while flying the American flag alongside the flags of Puerto Rico, as well as several other Latin countries. And Jumbotrons at Levi Stadium actually lit up with the only thing more powerful than hate is love, which I think is fantastic. And at the end, he held out that football that said, together we are America.
Yeah.
About 130 million people tuned into the halftime show, which was not the disaster that the president wanted it to be. I will say,
Can we hear a little Bad Bunny?
Yeah, let's hear a little
Can we
Bad
hear a
Bunny.
little
Let's
Bad
hear the
Bunny?
end. This is cut 4.
Sea Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Bolivia, Perú, Ecuador, Brasil, Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Panamá, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, México, Cuba, República Dominicana, Jamaica, Haití, las Antillas, United States, Canadá, and my motherland, mi patria, Puerto Rico.
So I will tell you, as Bad Bunny fades out
I understood
here,
all those words.
I did.
That
I
part,
got all
I
those.
understood it all. And
This
thank
was
God for the internet, because when he held up the football, I was like, what did that say?
What did it say? It went really quickly. I did tune in to the Turning Point USA for halftime show.
Yeah, thanks. You did it for all of us.
I did. I took one for the team. It was pre-recorded. There were a lot of pyrotechnics. There were a lot of flags, and there was a lot of yelling and screaming and a weird pirate cellist. So I took one for everybody. That's what he looked like anyway. That's what I'm going with. So you didn't miss much if you didn't tune into the Turning Point USA. It went on for a half hour. There was a montage of Charlie Kirk to start and to end. And it looked like there were maybe dozens of people in the audience. And I don't say that facetiously. Dozens is probably what you... So about 4 to 5 million tuned in. So I think Bad Bunny, I think he captured the country in a much better way than anybody ever anticipated. I would love to see it. I would love to see another show with Bad Bunny.
Yeah,
honestly,
I
after that.
agree. It was great. Well, that's it, Jamie. We're wrapping it up. We'll be back again tomorrow to do it all again, because the news never stops and you never sleep. So, we'll come back and do it again.
We will. We will. It is 7:59. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Network.
All right, live stream. We will see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.